So, if the world wasn't already messed up enough, it finds a way to outdo itself. We are in the month of June, so obviously there is going to be an emphasis on sexuality, and when it pertains to adults, whatever, right? I've said this a million times before. I don't have to agree with someone's lifestyle. I don't have to understand it. You're an adult, though. If you want to do what you want to do, that's fine, because I probably do things that a lot of other people don't like or don't agree with or don't understand, and that's fine. But I'm also 22 years of age. I'm not 8. So I do what I do. Other adults do what they do. And everyone hopefully just kind of goes their separate ways, especially if they're not interested in the activities of a different person. The problem, and it just seems to be reoccurring, I feel like this is going to be a reoccurring theme over the month of June, is when you involve kids. I don't understand what's so difficult about leaving children out of things. I've talked about it so many times, but this disgusting beast of trying to involve kids in sexuality keeps rearing its head. And obviously, it's going to uptick more because it's June, and now there's a spotlight on people's genitals and people's sexuality and people's feelings about who they might be attracted to or who they want to identify as. Or what, because I don't really think inanimate objects are out of the picture anymore. You could probably identify as whatever you want, and that's just dandy if you're an adult. No matter how confusing, the running theme here is that you are an adult. But that's not good enough. Most adults nowadays only feel competent in who it is that they want to be if they can involve kids, which is the weirdest thing ever. And anyone, in my opinion, who tries to justify it just blows my mind, because I do not understand the desire to want to involve kids in anything that has to do with sexuality. I don't care what it is. The desire to involve kids is the weirdest thing ever. I saw this post and it had a video attached to it. It said, anti-LGBT protesters attack pro-LGBT demonstrators outside of a Glendale, California school board meeting. The school board is voting on recognizing June as Pride Month. Someone responded to the tweet and said, "This happened 4 blocks from my Overwatch League apartment. Americans are in a sad place right now. Let people love who they love and live your own life." Before I go on, there's one flaw with that tweet. The whole idea of letting people love who they love and just kind of living your own life. That is not what's going on right now. A lot of people who identify with the Pride community would not necessarily be hearing things from a lot of people if it was just left at that. Just love who you love or do what you do and then go your separate way. That's not the case in this country. It is, I want to love who I love, and then I want to broadcast it to everyone, and then I want to force feed it down people's throats until they accept me and my lifestyle and my choices. And I feel like that's the whole idea of like dedicating one whole month to sexuality. I will never understand it. I will never understand it. And this has nothing to do with my opinion on someone's lifestyle. It's just when you boil it down, you're talking about sexuality. Why is that something that deserves a month or this big spotlight? It makes no sense to tweet out, just love who you love and everyone kind of go their own separate ways, when that's not happening. It's the complete opposite. There's so much attention being put on it, and it's being shoved in everyone's faces, including children, right? Like schools having fights over this is because you walk into a school and you see rainbow flags everywhere, and teachers are dressed in these colorful garments to signify every single identification that you can think of. And this caught the attention of one Nickmercs. He's a real famous Call of Duty streamer. He tweeted out in response to this, he said, "They should leave little children alone. That's the real issue." Real simple, straight to the point tweet. Now, what should be common sense in that tweet was taken far out of context and then just set everyone on fire, pissed a lot of people off, and he even got in trouble. He has a partnership with Call of Duty, and they hook him up with some content inside of the game or whatever. But I guess him expressing that, hey, maybe you should leave children and sexuality separate, pissed them off. So it's good to know that Call of Duty is filled with a bunch of pedophiles. They tweeted out, "Due to recent events, we have removed the Nickmercs operator bundle from the Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone store. We are focused on celebrating Pride in our employees and our community." Now, considering that their employees probably aren't children, I'm not sure what his tweet had to do with their employees, But this is where we're at now. These people are showing their hand by expressing how big of pedophiles they are. This has nothing to do with agreeing or disagreeing with someone's lifestyle. I don't care if you're straight, if you're gay, if you're transgender, if you're pansexual, if you're asexual, if you're a thunderbird, if you're a water cat, if you're a tortoise lion. I do not care what identification you are. Children and sexuality don't go together. Like, that's not an okay thing. And trust and believe, I promise you, with every fiber in my being, there is not one child on this planet who grows up thinking about sexuality until they are influenced by the adults around them. I would be willing to bet anything that a 4 or a 5-year-old is not going to go up to their mom and say, hey, I'm pansexual, without having been influenced to some degree by either their parents or people at school, teachers, the internet, TV. It does not matter. They don't know what that means until they are told about it. So you introducing it to them, you willfully putting this in front of their face as if this is some pro-LGBT thing. No, what it is doing is painting these people out to be pedophiles. And that is separate from you agreeing or disagreeing on whether they should be straight or gay or lesbian or whatever. That being the adults, right? You don't have to agree with someone's lifestyle. You don't have to disagree with someone's lifestyle to believe that involving children in this space at all is weird, dog. It's freaking weird. There's no other explanation about it. And I don't understand where that concept got lost. But I mentioned this before. The growing nature of the LGBTQ2SIA plus community. You see the trend here where every year a new letter's being added, is when they grow this community and there's more identifications being added, it just makes the whole system that much more foolproof. So if you try to challenge people on, hey, don't involve kids into sexuality, they're going to take it as, oh my goodness, you don't like me. You don't like my community. You're being hateful. You're a bigot. How on God's green earth are you oppressed when somebody expresses that children should be left out of this and now they're having sponsorships and deals pulled? I don't want my 5-year-old getting a tattoo. That doesn't mean I'm against the tattoo community, where whoever exists in that, right? Make that decision when you become of age, when you become competent and aware of the world, and you're no longer needing me to do everything for you. But even if someone were to have a conversation about sexuality, it should be left at the parents. Teachers do not decide that. Doctors do not decide that. The internet should not decide that. And this weird pedophile mob that goes after somebody who just wants to protect his children should not guilt trip or decide or influence people into bringing children into this fold. Once again, I do not care what your identification is. That involves straight. So this has nothing to do with just singling out the LGBTQ community. But it seems like a lot of people who reside in this community have such a desire to include kids in whatever it is that they're doing. That's weird. You want to do a drag show? Okay, show off your junk to a bunch of adults, but bringing kids there. I've seen so many videos of kids shoving money in a drag queen's freaking underwear or something like that. Like, it's weird. I don't know how else to describe it. That's weird. I don't know how we got to this point, and it is so frustrating because it has nothing to do with acceptance or inclusivity. No, it has everything to do with protecting children, right? But you got these douchebags who are twisting it around. Oh my goodness, you think that gay people are after your kids, or you think that trans people are after your kids. That's not necessarily what people are saying. What people are saying is don't involve children into sexuality, and that goes for anybody. But you are showing your hand as a pedophile when you try to make justifications for it. How that concept has gotten lost, I have no idea. But I expressed this before. Children are not confused. Children have imaginations. You begin to confuse them when you affirm every single crazy and artistic and imaginative thought that they have. My kid comes up to me and says, I'm Batman. I'm not going to put him outside at 3 o'clock in the morning to go fight crime. No, I'll buy you a Halloween costume and we can go parade around as Batman for a couple hours. But that's where I'm going to leave it at, because I'm not going to affirm this identity that you want to be Batman, because you're not Batman. You are not tasked with protecting this city after hours as a 5-year-old. Now, when you grow up and when you're 28, if you so desire to go out there and fight crime and be a vigilante, by all means, you're no longer under my roof. You're not in my care. So that is a you adult decision. You see how that's not me being anti-Batman? I'm not. That's me saying, hey, go do that when you're an adult. or when you become of age and you can make decisions for yourself that have no bearing on me. When you get to make decisions to the point where I'm no longer caring for you, at least in the way that I would be when you were a 5-year-old. They're showing their hand, man. This stuff is weird. I don't understand it. Leave kids out of it. How hard of a concept is that? I don't understand. It has nothing to do with acceptance or not accepting or inclusivity or being hateful or excluding a certain group. Has nothing to do with that. But if you are so hell-bent on using that as your justification for why you want to include kids and sexuality, you're a pedophile. It's as simple as that. And shout out to him because he went on a live stream and expressed that he's not apologizing for this, because you shouldn't, especially as a parent. He's a parent. Do not let these crazy people guilt trip you into succumbing to this weird new normal that we're dealing with. These are children, bro. And as I stated earlier, this even applies to like being straight, right? There shouldn't be a bunch of books in school of a man and a woman getting it on, or a bunch of movies in which they're showing men and women getting it on. But what I will say is that the reason why like heterosexual relationships have never been shoved down anyone's throats at scale when they're in elementary school or whatever is because there's no need to explain the nature of it. I don't care what you identify as. I 100%, 1 million, 1 trillion% do not care. It does not matter what you identify as. You did not get here outside of the confines of a heterosexual relationship. And that has nothing to do with putting down anyone or any other identification or anything like that. That is just a straight fact. You can be any type of sexuality you want. You only got here through the union of a man and a woman doing their thing. So there's no there's no need to explain it because it is so ingrained in us. That's the only way we got here. So there's no need to force feed such a relationship down people's throats. There's no need to push this identity in children's faces. Inherently, it's most likely what they know because it's how they got here. But everything else, yeah, you might have to do some explaining, but that is reserved for a later time, a later date, when these people are older and they are of age to make decisions on their own. Don't sit up here and tell me that a child can't buy a gun or get a tattoo or vote or use a tanning bed in some states, but they can sure as hell talk about sexuality. You can put them on puberty blockers, and at up to a certain point, you can start chopping healthy body parts off. Why? Because you want to be inclusive? No. That's weird, and you're taking advantage of people's brains who are not even close to being fully developed simply because you are so incompetent within your own skin that you got to take somebody else with you. A child at that, the most vulnerable of us who do not know what's going on. Stop it. It's weird. These are children. Let children be children. Go to school. Learn about shapes, numbers, how to make friends. Let's start there before you start talking about how to change your gender every day of the week. And once again, if that's how you roll, by all means. But hopefully you're an adult and you've understood that the choices that you make, especially irreversible choices, are ones that you have to live with. A 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, even a 12-year-old cannot comprehend that. And that has nothing to do with any type of bigotry or any of that other crap that people want to throw out when they have no basis for an argument. This is just common sense, in my opinion. Leave children out of it. I mean, let's start there, right? And then it's weird to even say that because I felt like we were at a point there. I feel like we have moved away from that. That used to be the standard. Now we've moved away from it. So I humbly ask, I don't even humbly ask because this is ridiculous. I strongly urge everyone in this country to let's roll it back, right? Let's roll it back. Let us leave the children out of the sexuality talk. If you want to get it on with any identification you want to experiment, you want to do that stuff, fine. Hopefully you're an adult. If you're a child or if you're influencing children, chill out, dog. Because these are kids. So let them be kids, man. Just let them be kids. Let them do what it is that they do and just leave them out of it.